Okay, so before I get into this video, I just have to get something off my chest. I made the mistake of looking at the Final Fantasy XI AH forums recently. And it's like, I don't take any offense to anything said there because I don't really give a crap. Like, to me, it's like just going to a political debate, except I've seen more maturity at political debates than I saw on the forums there. And just, I've seen more civility at a sports bar brawl. Like, holy effing F. Like, it was just like being on the other side of a freeway and seeing just like this 10-mile long pile up of cars. It's like in the freaking the Blues Brothers 2000 movie, you know, when like there's like 5 million cop cars all piled up. Imagine that mountain of car trash, and more people keep piling into it for like 10 miles straight of highway. That's basically what it is. It was just shocking and baffling, and at some points I was awestricken that, like, you people actually feel this way? You actually have like judgmental opinions about which version of a 20-year-old MMO people play? Can I have one of y'all's lives? You know, like, because apparently you have never had a single fucking problem in your life that actually matters. Holy shit, like, I'm just shocked. Like, oh my gosh. These people are having fun playing this version of the game that I don't like. Ooh, I better start making up all kinds of insane, misanthropic, you know, psychopathic bullshit about the people who run these individual private servers. And it's like, has anyone ever like touched y'all by any chance? Like in a good way? Or has it all been bad? Has it all been bad touches in your life? What the fuck, man? Unbelievable. Oh, props to Sioban or Shioban, however you want to pronounce your name, bro. For being just like this neutral commentator who is the only person in all of those that is just hilarious to me. Um, I I don't know. It's just the freaking Drelo Homsar. You know, it's like a DBZ fight. You know, it just never stops. No matter how much they punch each other in the face and throw each other through mountains, they just keep fighting. Like, holy shit, you guys! Never stop. Never change, please. Anyway. Oh, okay. I'm gonna put that infused joint down. I'm 50 milligrams deep on some special raspberry lemonade that is really starting to kick in right now. Because my whole, you know, kicking out the weed thing all at once, that did not work. So I'm going to taper off of it, but I'm going to start my tapering off by having a nuclear cannabis party in my tent. So, hello. Welcome to this weird channel where I talk about things I did 20 years ago. Today, I actually want to talk about a special lady. Not a woman, not a chick, not a girl, not a female, a lady. A genuine, honest to God lady. The toughest, most stalwart, noble, righteous, virtuous lady that I have ever known. And that is probably only because I haven't known my wife long enough yet, to be fair. Today I want to talk about Kasune, real name Lara, which is what I mostly know her as, and whenever I think of her, it's not usually as Kasune, her character in game. I usually think of her as Lara, because like we talked just as much out of the game as we did in the game. AOL Instant Messenger, sometimes over the phone for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. Talked about all kinds of things, man. Philosophy, religion, sociology, politics, economics, freaking food, astrology, astronomy, oceanography, geology. Just old American authors that have kind of slipped under people's radar. And let me start at the beginning with her. Like, we met in Sandoria, doing the first leg of the Mage's Ballad quest, because we were both from Bastock. Represent. Also, speaking of represent, best character in that game, fight me. Actually, maybe don't fight me, because I'll just have to run away while I heal my team. So, whatever. Freaking. Forget, I think I had W legs by that point. Yeah, it matters to me what I was wearing, okay? I played Barbie with these games. So yeah, I had W legs. I think I was wearing Paladin AF plus 1 feet, or my Marine M boots. It was either one of those two. It was pretty much always one of those two. And Bastokan Akatin. No hands, because I was crafting. I didn't like wearing hand equipment while I was crafting. I thought it looked stupid. It's like, oh yeah, let me delicately craft this embroidery here while I'm wearing a pair of dark steel mufflers that encapsulate my 4 main fingers into a single hooven, oh, and then I got a finger, yes. Yeah, let me sew this thing together with these metal ass boxing gloves on. That looks stupid as shit. So I always took my hand equipment off whenever I was crafting, because I thought it looked dumb otherwise. And of course, my Bastokan Akatin. Because I was in Sandoria, I was in Bloodland, so I was going to wear crypt colors. And my favorite headgear, my goldsmithing glasses. Oh, I loved the goldsmithing glasses. I thought about doing Bonecraft because I wanted the Ray-Bans and the Oakleys, you know what I mean? But I was satisfied just having the Ray-Bans. And as the party is like filling up, Kasune joins. She's the 5th person who joins. And we're all like high level and just deciding like, yeah, let's just do the Mage's Ballad quest now and make like 80k or whatever. I think that's how much it was at the time. And then I look in the party list and I'm like, this person has 150 hit points. Do they have enough fame to do this? They're low level. Look in the party list, they don't even got a sub job. They're rank 1. What is a level 13 with no sub job rank 1 even doing in Sandoria in the first place? And then lo and behold, as I'm wondering what Kasune's even doing here in the first place, she comes over into the little tower area where you do the quest, and she sees me crafting, and she sends me a tell and just says, hey, cool glasses. Those look good on your character. I was like, oh, thanks. It took me a year and a half to get them because I didn't pay for any of it. And she was like, how did you do that without paying? I was like, a level thief. I just stole beast coins while I farmed in a lot of different places. Turned all those into ingots. When I was capped on ingots, I started doing plates and chains and rings and earrings and hairpins and desynthing those and resynthing them. Never paid for it though. I paid for the fire crystals occasionally, but most of it was just I saved all my fire crystals because I needed it for ingots. It was leveling goldsmithing and blacksmithing. So I was talking to her about crafting for a little bit, while we're waiting for the party to fill up, and told her to do cooking, because cooking is one of those crafts that's easy to get into and it's eventually going to be one of those things that's always going to turn you a little bit of profit over time. And it's a good source of money from crafting. It's really easy to get caught up in crafting as this endless source of money, but I think the best thing you can do with crafting is use it as one of your avenues to make money. Do multiple things, otherwise you're going to get burned out and you're never going to accomplish anything. People, I think, don't realize how hard the grind is on your mind sometimes. You got to do the thing that's chill for you. That's why I always farmed beehive chips and slime oil, and that was chill for me. I could do it endlessly and never burn out doing it, so that's how I made my money. So, whatever. Oh, there is a light on this thing. I was wondering about that. Look how crazy this thing is. It's like embossed metal and everything. It's not silkscreen printed. It's actually like raised up on the metal. That's pretty crazy for a disposable. Boy, I'm lit. So, we finished the first part of that quest. And I'm a Hume. She's an Elvon female. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'll see you later. We're talking for a little bit until still. Well, I'm still in Sandoria. I was just going to pick up some distilled water to use up some light crystals or something to, vendor some holy water. And we're just still talking. She finishes the quest, and then something in me just kind of is like, you should offer to follow her around and protect her while she levels up. So we go wandering around a couple places. I'm curing her outside. She gets into a party. I'm still power leveling her. We're still talking. And we ended up talking for like 7 hours straight, basically. Just about all kinds of things. It was this incredible chemical reaction, I would have to call it. And I'm usually really good at gauging people's age over the internet just by the way they type, but I couldn't with her. And the reason is because there's very few people who type like her, who use the kind of words and manners of speech that she did. It's because she was 29 years older than me. Like, she's old enough to be my mom. So, at one point she mentions that her favorite game of all time is Xenogears. And that gets a pretty strong reaction from me, because that's also like one of my favorite games of all time. It is certainly the most influential game I've ever played, and is definitely up there in my favorites. And one of the first things we bonded over was actually how much we liked Xenogears. This was around the same time that I saw Evangelion for the first time, and this notion of Judeo-Christian symbology, giant robots, deep conspiracies, crazy creatures. I was into that. Those were good ingredients to put together on a plate, man. I think this battery might need to be charged. Maybe that's why I have to hit it so many times. Uh-oh. No, that's good. Whoa. Whoa, hey. Part of my synapses just disjointed and fired in directions they weren't supposed to, where there was nowhere to catch the neurons. And my brain just took a minute over to Mars, and now I'm back, so we good. Mind and the brain are interesting and yet different things. Let me talk about that. I think that's one of the interesting things that Lara and I talked about. I want to bring that up. You ever notice how we have two differentiating terms for the brain, the physical organ that is inside the skull, inside the head of the body, and the mind? Rarely do we ever define what the mind is, but I think we can all agree that it is this intangible, incorporeal notion or concept that exists within the consciousness and is connected to the personality. The mind is something that is a product, majority of what occurs inside the head of the body itself. But then, in English, we have this notion of our physical heart, which beats and pulses with blood and causes it to cascade through the veins of the body, all across the miraculous, beautiful circulatory system. But then we also use the word heart, as in, put your heart into the game. Put your heart into this work. Put your heart and soul into this food. We are clearly not saying put your physical, pulsing organ in your chest into your food, when we are synonymously linking it with the soul, an incorporeal thing that also seems to exist within the body and yet has no tangible evidence of its existence. But we call the heart the same thing. Why don't we have a separate word necessarily for that? We've all become used to just saying that, but there should be a different word for that energy that comes from the heart, the bizarre thought that seems to emanate from it at times. The heart does speak, and some people are just deaf to it. But Kasune definitely taught me how to listen to it more. It's rare that there are people like her. My mother-in-law is actually very similar to her, thank God for that. My in-laws are awesome. But Lara was just this incredible, nurturing teacher for me. I taught her how to play Final Fantasy XI, but she taught me everything else. She was like the boss was the snake in Metal Gear Solid 3. That's the kind of relationship that we had. And, it was just, I guess it was kind of like a tropical bird perching on a rhinoceros's horn, if you know about that symbiotic relationship. She was the bird on top of my horn, more or less. She's the one who taught me not to stop and smell the roses, but to stop, sit on the ground, and stare at the entire rose bush for like a freaking hour. Just look at it. Admire every single part of it, down from the hard, solidified base of it. Look across the parts of it that have thorns and yet are still green. Green in a plant means there's chlorophyll in it. It means that part of the plant is used to generate sugars from sunlight so that it can promote more beautiful flowers and fruit. Ever since I actually started doing that, started to learn a lot more about flowers, about trees and plants. But you know what? Here, look. This is something I don't normally do, but watch this, okay? Watch. Look. There's a tree back there from Australia. It's got green. It's got green all up on its trunk. Right? That tree doesn't have bark. It's got a bunch of thorns. It puts off beautiful flowers as well that are kind of an anniversary reminder for me and my wife. It only blooms twice a year, once in November, once in the summer. And when it blooms in November, it's always a beautiful reminder of when we first met. So I really like that tree. It's also cool. It's got green all up on it, man. The entire tree spends half a year building up a bunch of nutrients in this harsh desert climate, and then it puts off these spectacular five-pronged pink, white, purple, and fuchsia flowers that are just the most gorgeous thing. And it's so hard to get one of them because they grow at the top of the tree, and the second they fall down, they break apart into 5 different pieces. But they're a lovely reminder that beautiful things are transient and to admire and appreciate them while they're there. That is what I learned when I stopped and just stared at a rose bush, as per Lara's advice. Learned to appreciate every plant that I had gone blind to around me. Every different kind of vine or fern, bush, hanging plant, tree, flower, and all the different fruits they generate. I think that if you really just stop and look at these things instead of recognizing that they're there, but to stop and look at them, you'll find such incredible beauty all around you every day of your life. It's one of the ways Lara was always able to stay so positive. I always viewed her as sunflower, honestly. Always looking toward the sun, always looking toward whatever was most positive. And then one day, by the time she's level 45, we had just gotten her AF weapon. And she'd been living with her son. No husband, because, well, douchebag. And when her son just kind of dipped out without really saying anything or discussing it at all, he was just kind of like, oh, I found a better place to live. I'm out. Peace. She knew she was going to end up homeless next week because she couldn't pay the rent. And she was worried about it for an hour, maybe. One of the few times she ever really fretted or panicked or was worried or upset about anything. But she ended up living out of her car with her 2 cats. She turned the back of her family station wagon into a mobile cattery because she wasn't going to abandon her cats the way she was abandoned, you know? She had jobs here and there, you know, like she worked at Google for a while, but her boss kept grabbing her ass, and then she didn't know what to do. I said, report him to human resources. And then 3 weeks later, she got fired. I felt kind of bad about that. She said, not worried about it. I'll find another job. Because she had like masters in business and a bachelor's in economics, you know, like she was set. She could find a job. But it's hard to find a place to live in LA when it's just you and you're trying to take care of your 2 cats. So, yeah, you know, after that, she ends up working at a train yard doing shipping container logistics for a long time. And the whole while, she'd been going to this mom and pop coffee house. That's where she plugged her Sony Vaio laptop in. And, you know, she'd been going to that coffee house for like 7 years at that point. So, you know, she was a long time regular there. You know what I'm saying? Knew the 2 owners who, you know, there was no employees. It was, you know, grandma and grandpa ran this house. Literally, it was like, you know, their house was like the 2nd floor and the coffee house was downstairs. It was kind of like Bob's Burgers, basically. And that's 6 p.m. to midnight, because they would let her stay for like 3 hours after closing, you know, while they're cleaning up and preparing for the next day and all that. You know, they would just let her stay in there until around midnight, and just, that was when we played. Worked out really good because I played with a European link shell. So, like 5:30 p.m. was kind of like my current 5:30 in the morning. I woke up right before the sun set. I barely ever saw the sun. Only ever played with the European link shell, and typically would go to bed a little bit after the sun would rise. The sun and moon were reversed for me around that time, so it was pretty much like wake up, check on my dad, make some breakfast, go play 11 with Lara for a couple hours for about 3 or 4 days out of the week. Didn't always feel like playing every night. Those are the nights we would just, talk on the phone. I would sit in the garden swing in the backyard, smoking cigarettes. She'd be out on the bench in front of the coffee house in front of her car, also smoking cigarettes. And we would just be talking for hours, man. Which, is crazy. I only realized that after a couple months that it's like, this is going to sound stupid as hell considering what I'm holding in my hand right now, is that I have a phobia of phones. Specifically, having conversations over them. I'm terrified of it. I can't do it. Like, even ordering a pizza would be like, I don't even, a lot of terrible things just came to my mind that I probably should not say. Oh, wow. But no, I can't do it, man. Like, I can't talk on phones with people. I can't do voice chat with people. Can't do it. It all comes back to, there it is, my phone was hiding it. It might be lit right now. It all comes back to a trauma from the military and the Air Force. A lot of, crap happened with that if you want to watch a 2-hour video about that experience. But I can't do phones. But I had no problem talking to her. It was different, man. I was just talking to my internet mom. Because I was homeschooled for a large portion of my life, which is how I was able to, conceptualize my life's work, which I began when I was 8 years old. But it was around, early, mid-20s, around the time that I met her, that I came to realize I know what flavor these books are missing. I know why I've never felt right about writing them yet. Even though I have spent 4 years writing short stories and novella and things of that nature, practicing, trying to get good. Actually, the same situation I'm in with swordsmanship training at the moment. And similarly, I know there's something missing from my swordsmanship training before I can advance it. I knew I couldn't work on my magnum opus of wordsmithing until I had captured and diffused and injected and then suffused the personality of the right woman into my female lead. And I had never met such a woman before that I could do that with. But Lara, I knew, after maybe like a week or so, just had this feeling of like, wonder if she's the one I can do it with. Is she the one that I can create my female lead out of? The one for whom the plot revolves around, and it's kind of important that they are a fleshed out, real character. The problem is that I'm not a woman. I have not led a woman's life. I do not know how women act, because I am not one of them. But Lara and I were very close with each other. We shared a lot of secrets with each other. In fact, half hour into this, I know only my subscribers are watching right now. This is kind of going to be a sad story in the end, so let me make it a little fun right now for you. I'm going to share my darkest secret. Most embarrassing thing I've ever done in my life. I will share that with you right now. I shared it with her. She thought it was hysterical. The time that I chemically burnt my dick. I had a tooth problem at the time. So I got this thing, the oil of clove. Got it at like a health food store. It is an extremely powerful numbing agent, but it smells awful. It also burns for a little bit, but then it subsides and then it just numbs everything out. Now, At this particular time of my tooth problem, I was about 16 years old, I believe. I was in an IRC chat on Espernet, talking with a bunch of other teenage boys, talking about things that teenage boys talk about. It just so happens that I was watching Comedy Central on my TV at the time, and the stand-up comic was mentioning the unfair disparity between sex toys between men and women. He's like, women have just this entire buffet of options at their disposal for masturbation, and men, you have left or right. That ain't fair. So I thought that was hilarious, so I relayed that in the chat room that I'm in. And then someone in there's like, well, that's not true. There's also the stranger. And someone asks, and if you are unaware, allow me to educate you. That is when you sit on your hand for like 25 minutes and completely cut the blood circulation off, and then do your thing. And it feels like someone else is doing it. So again, I'm 16 years old, and when you're 16 years old, you know everything. You are a genius, and nothing bad can ever happen to me. I get a feeling that a lot of these people on the Final Fantasy XI AH forum are a lot of people who have never had these types of actual problems, like chemically burning your dick the way I was about to. So, I'm a genius. I got everything in the world figured out. You just have to numb your hand out, right? Well, I have this very powerful numbing agent. So, one evening, I open the bottle of the stuff and just dump it all over my hand. Close the bottle up. Wait about 10 minutes or so, and I figure, yep, that's good enough. And, I had some questionable material open on my computer, obviously. And I'm thinking to myself, it really actually works. Does my hand feel warm, or does the other thing feel warm? It's kind of hot now, actually. It keeps getting hotter, actually. It kind of feels like pepper spray on my dick at this point. And it's still escalating. I should probably stop. Yeah, it took me that long to actually realize that what I was doing was a bad idea. And so I ran out of my room faster than a horrendous offspring of Speedy Gonzalez and the Roadrunner, coked up and shroomed out and given about a month's worth of acid straight to the dome in 5 minutes. I ran faster than that to the bathroom, slammed the door behind me, making a large ruckus as I jumped onto the sink, sitting kind of Japanese style, but knees splayed out to the side, knocking about 20 different bathroom products off the counter onto the toilet and onto the porcelain and onto the linoleum floor, as I realized the utter futility of trying to use a bathroom sink faucet that only extends about 2 inches into the rim of the sink on the far end of where I need the water to be flowing. So after that failed to produce any results of relief, I, pants still on, no time to waste, jumped into my bathtub and turned the water on full blast, ice cold. And then I learned the startling truth of my situation is that whatever chemical reaction was occurring on the skin of my genitalia that made it seem like a ghost pepper sauce was now being smeared into it with a power sander. That chemical reaction, that burning, tingling, horrendous pain that was anything but numbing, was multiplied and exacerbated by cold water. That is the loudest and most high-pitched girl scream that I have ever shrieked out in my life, as I then turned the water hot as possible, and then realized that putting hot water on it and actually burning my skin from actual hot water temperature was also not helping. And so I settled on warm water as I sat with my back in the tub and my legs up against the wall on the tile floor, with the bathroom faucet pouring lukewarm water down onto me for, I don't know, about like half an hour, until there was finally a knock at the door, wondering what the hell was going on. And all I could muster out to say was, "I'm fine, it will stop eventually." The worst of it stopped about 5 hours later, but it still burned for the following week. Now you know how much of a brilliant 16-year-old kid I was. Enjoy knowing that about me, I guess. I told this story to my mom in the freeway once. She almost crashed into the median. It probably was not a wise idea to tell her that. You know, because one day she was just asking, like, what were you doing that day? And I was like, well, I kind of chemically burned my dick that day, Mom. She's like, what? So I told it to her. I didn't think she was going to start laughing so hard that she was going to choke on her own spit, start, like, losing oxygen and keeling over to the left for, like, half a second, almost crashed into the median because she was laughing so hard about it. But, well, yeah, that's me. That's my life. That also felt good to get off my chest. Just want to say. But, you know, it's this odd thing. I forget where I heard or read about this. It was in some documentary somewhere, but it's like, when you don't have a lot, the real person is all that's really left. And Lara was always so straightforward and honest with me about things that I just wanted to be straightforward and honest with her about things that I had done in my life. And, you know, it was seriously one of these just absolutely no secret types of bizarre relationships, like super friendships, you know, like I don't even know what you would call it. But you know, we kept playing all the way up until I think it was around like level, yeah, it was early 60s. One day we're talking on the phone and she's just like, is there another way for me to get experience points? Because I am so just sick and tired of all these samurais whining, I didn't have haste for 7 seconds. Do you understand that that is 1.48 swings that I did not get off? Do you know what you're doing to my TP economy by not hasting me? You whinging ass nerd bucket. Like, seriously, she couldn't take the cry-ass diaper babies anymore. Like, we're talking about someone who, at the time I met her, was walking back and forth, not dying, at level 13 with no sub-job, between Selbina and Sandoria, as a Bastoken, using the meager couple thousand gil she had to trade in corn so she could get a jump start on her reputation. This is a person who has been playing video games since the Atari and has never stopped. This is a lady who, while she is freaking homeless, is playing a rather complex MMORPG that requires a lot of, you know, multitasking, paying attention to like 20 different freaking things at a time, especially as a red mage, and she does a good job at it. And y'all gonna complain? Eventually, she just couldn't take it. It's like, do you think I don't have enough motherfucking problems in my life right now? She never went off on nobody, and I always asked her, like, what are these people's names? I want to go off on them, and she would never tell me, because she knew. She knew I was a freaking sociopath, man. There's a reason I was sent to jail in that game 3 times, man. Man, that tastes weird and good. Yo! Whoa. That time my head and arms went to Mars, but my body stayed sitting here. That was an interesting moment, having that, near infinitesimal, is that it? Just gap of nothingness and cosmic dust between me and another part of my body for a brief moment. I gotta admit, for as cheap as those things are, they're well made, and that is some good quality stuff. I mean, look, man, you can tell that's a champagne color in there. I've seen some other ones that look like used motor oil. Those ones are harsh, bro. This one is it's like grape cotton candy in air, and clear crystal stream water. Oddly refreshing yet powerful, slimy yet satisfying. Here's another fun story. I'm going to tell a lot of stories here because I'm super high, and Lara always encouraged me to be a storyteller. And I'm sorry if it's a little fragmented right now, but this is what I got in me, and y'all are going to have to deal with it, so have fun. I don't know if I even mentioned this one in my story about the military, but this is one of my favorite memories of my entire life. Because, this is when we're all in the 319th, and it's kind of like you're guaranteed you're getting kicked out of the military type situation. And while we're cleaning up the pad one day, there was this one girl who was, let me think. This is when I was recovering from pneumonia, so I was just working a supply closet. And there was this one girl who was like hella sad when she came to get a replacement brush, because, we're cleaning seagull shit off the pads and everything. I gotta tell, she was like hella sad, bro. And it just bugged me. I can't stand seeing women who are sad or upset. It triggers something in me that's just like, it is your duty and responsibility to put a smile on that woman's face somehow or some way. You gotta make that happen. And we had this dude in our flight who was a really good singer. I mean, like, for real, this dude could imitate all types of different people's singing voices. It was kind of incredible. So next time, about like 40 minutes later, she comes over for another brush. I asked her, I was like, hey, what kind of movies do you like? And based on her age and everything, I was hoping she was going to say Disney movies, and thank God she did. And so, like, the next time it was time for us to, like, go do details and everything like that, and we're all cleaning the pad and everything, we waited until the TIs were going to be out of the squadron for, like, half an hour or so. And we did this thing where we had like 5 of us singing a bunch of different songs from The Lion King and The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. And it was worth it just to get a smile back on our face. But we all got a little too into it all, and let's just say we did a lot of push-ups and sit-ups after that. It was worth it, though. It was worth it to put a smile on that girl's face, And then that douchebag, he would because we was all on the 3rd floor of the dormitory, so he would sing through the door that connected the male and the female dorms. It was like nailed shut. It had like 5 different locks on it, but it was made of wood. It had gaps in it, so he was always like singing like Barry Manilow songs and shit through the door. You hear all these girls screaming on the other side like they're at like a freaking Beatles concert in the 80s. It was freaking great, man. But anyway, Why am I telling all these stories? Because I've had a lot of people encourage me to be storytellers, but Lara was the one who encouraged me the most. When I asked her to become my winter, I told her about, she's like, well, what is the book about? And I, explained it to her. And her reaction was just like, this sounds a lot like Xenogears. I was over the moon. Just in, like a brief explanation to her. I'm not going to explain it here. You'll have to read my books if you want to know. I never would have been able to start that book without her. And, letting her read it chapter by chapter. I had focus groups later on of like 40, 50 people. But, they got back to me in a group, after reading like 6 or 7 chapters at a time. But, having her constant immediate reactions immediately as I was done writing each chapter, and the fact that, she was like, a central part of the work itself, that, she even agreed that, I captured her as a person, was able to do that. The type of character relationship between, Valesti, the protagonist, and Winter just kind of unintentionally became very similar to Lara and me. And so it wasn't even really, that was like one of the only things I didn't have to think about or put any effort into as I was writing it. The nurturing relationship of how Valesti and Winter end up bonding over the course of the story was really just me explaining how Lara and I were bonding over the period of time it took me to write it, which was 3.5 years to write those main 5 books. And unfortunately, I found out she passed away last year. So I made a comment on the channel recently about how a doctor and a homeless person could get along as long as they played Final Fantasy XI together. And I remembered playing with Lara while she was homeless for those 3.5 years. So I looked her up, and there's nothing out there. There's no memories of her. There's nothing explaining how this incredible woman, with freaking diabetes, and between jobs she had to just drink Pepsi cans, and knew how much to drink at a time, and the nights where she had to just lay down in her car petting one of her cats, and just we just talk on the phone so she could calm down when she was having a panic attack or something. I was there for that, man. I was there to witness her struggle, man. And one of the main reasons I was able to be there and witness all that was through Final Fantasy XI. She got to frickin' 75 on Red Mage while she was homeless, living out of her car, man. I know a lot of us have, gone through our trials and our struggles, We got that one dude on the server who's like 200 plus and still hasn't gotten the frickin' club yet from the BCNM. We got people trying to level Thief. We got people trying to level Dark Knight, like, those are difficult struggles. Those are trials to get through. Can you imagine doing it while you're living out of your freaking car or maybe a tent? Can you imagine that, yeah, you have a place where you can go and sit down and play that's warm and dry, and the owners of this coffee shop always, make a couple extra donuts and danishes for you because they understand your situation, and oh, look, don't know why we made this extra pot of coffee, but here you go. Here's an entire pot of coffee for you for free for, the next 6 hours while you're here. They would let her like go to the fridge and get, creamers and sugar and all that kind of stuff, and just like custom make her own coffee there, whatever. I was always thankful for them looking out for her, and she had a rough situation, but damn, bro, she got to level 75 in Final Fantasy freaking 11 retail back in the day. Like before EXP bans existed, bro. No one did Eco Warrior. No one did the freaking escort quest missions. Eventually, my link shell started doing the one in Crawler's Nest, but you know, like, no one did that stuff, bro. There wasn't like E&M groups or anything. It was go to EXP camps and get, you know, 150 on average on chain 0 from those mobs and barely get to chain 5. That's it. She did that living out of her freaking car. I can't think of anyone I've ever known in my life that loved Final Fantasy XI more than Lara did. And then when I went to go look her up recently, there's something on a Japanese auction house site. There's a post on Final Fantasy XI AH's forums of her recruiting for a link shell, and then there's her profile that has her at like every job at 99 except for Puppet Master, and a mythic or a relic weapon for every single freaking job. Which I think she had like 17 of them or something, and only 2 comments. One from 2010, stupid comment that I'm not going to reiterate because he can go fuck himself. And the other comment was from 5 months after her last auction house transaction in 2022. He said, Kasune / Lady Lara, you will be missed. Rest in peace. And you wouldn't refer to her as Lady Lara unless you knew her when she was drunk, which I had the hilarious opportunity, I guess would be the word, to see. The only thing I'm really going to explain about this story and why Lara is the only one who could ever have been Winter is because in the context of the story, Winter is a sex slave who's liberated early on in the story. When Lara got drunk, she donned another personality. She wasn't schizophrenic, but she had another personality. It was one that she developed naturally as a result of things that she had been through. Go figure, the types of things she had been through would necessitate the mental and psychic creation of another personality, another version of the self that is a whip and leather dominatrix that is always in control in sexual situations. I wonder what a person would have to go through to have to be forced to develop something like that. That's all I'm going to say. But the fact that he knew her as Lady Lara told me that he definitely didn't just know her in passing. I don't know who that person was, but he definitely knew enough about her and cared enough about her to leave something out there on the internet to eulogize her passing. And so I wanted to do the same. I wanted there to be something more out there, something that remembered what she went through, what she endured, and the fact that she was always a positive, happy, cheerful, encouraging, and nurturing mom-like figure to pretty much everyone she met. You know, she was, you know, one of my favorite animals actually is the capybara. The capybara is nature's mom. It'll take on absolutely any other animal and care for it. And no, seriously, I love those things. It's one of my favorite animals. Honestly, anytime I look at one, I am reminded of Lara's nature. To always chill out, look for something positive to be happy about, and always be encouraging to others and forgive others of their trespasses quickly. Always very good things she tried to teach other people. Because of her, I was able to find my life's purpose in being a writer and a storyteller. And for a long time, I've doubted that, but a lot of you have told me otherwise. And I don't believe in touting myself up. I don't believe in promoting myself. That's why, like, on Discord, I don't even have this channel linked on there. Like, I don't tell other people what this is. I've told my friends I have a YouTube channel, but I've never even linked it to them because it's like, I've told you it exists, so I don't want to self-promote to you. I don't want any views, nothing like that. I don't even like my own videos, man. I'm not even subscribed to my own channel. I don't want to promote myself. I only want other people to, if they feel it's worth that. So, I don't know what my point is. I'm super freaking high. But I just missed Lara, and I was dissatisfied with the fact there was nothing out there to remember her by. Nothing out there that catalogs or chronicles what she went through, how she went through it. And I think of all the things we talked about, I think one of the most important things we talked about, honestly, was God. She always said, you know, when I asked her, it's like, how come you're never like worried, and how come you never complain about your situation? Because she never does. She never did. The only thing she ever complained about was not having access to the espresso bar at Google after she got fired. And she just said, I just trust that the Lord will provide what I need, and if the Lord's going to provide for me, why do I need to worry about anything? That's it. Cut and dry. She trusted the Lord would direct her to where she needed to go and when she needed to be there, and anytime she felt one of those promptings, she always heeded it. Simple as that. It's not like she just sat around and waited for things to fall into her lap, you know. She believed that when God was kind of, you know, nudging her to do something, even if it seemed like a trivial thing at the time, it may lead to something else, and she should always follow that small, soft voice that gives that subtle encouragement to do things that seem so innocuous and seem so trivial and meaningless, but you never know. After all, our entire relationship was founded upon her walking into a small little area in the Sandorian region of the Leviathan server on Final Fantasy XI one fateful day, seeing some dude with a pair of cool sunglasses on and sending him a tell and saying, hey, cool sunglasses. It all started from that small, simple thing. And yet it became, until I met my wife, I've been married to her for so many awesome years. Like, I'm already at the point where I'm losing track of how many years it's actually been. I still think to myself, it's like, we just got married like 2 years ago, right? And she's like, we've been together for like 8 years, and we got married 6 years ago. And I'm like, real? I feel like we met like a couple of years ago still. Like that's the kind of crazy friendship that I have with my wife, thankfully. But the first person I ever had that kind of friendship with was Lara. You know, she always called me her puppy dog paladin, because anytime she was online, I would just run to wherever she is and, you know, bodyguard her while she's doing, you know, leveling sub jobs or whatever. It's like, you know, like, hey, do you need any coffer keys for any other jobs you're leveling? We should get those in advance. I want to go fight stuff. Let's go. You know, like, I was always ready to help her out because, you know, she only got to have so many hours a day to play, and it always shocked me, considering her situation, that she was still, in fact, playing Final Fantasy XI for so many years while living out of her freaking car. And I know this is gonna sound stupid, but I felt it was almost like some kind of divine obligation or some type of sacred duty of mine, that it's like, you have equipment that allows you to do things that most people in this game cannot do. You are in a position to bodyguard and protect and pretty much do every single thing for this woman she would ever possibly need done, you know, throughout the vast array of jobs you have and the insane and ostentatious collection of gear you've accumulated over playing this game for so long. This is what you should be using it for. Other people. That was the most important thing I learned from her. And I miss her. I loved her. She was incredibly special to me. God willing, one day we'll see each other on the other side. That's so I can show her how this story was always supposed to end. This story that she helped inspire, helped encourage me to build for so long. Here's to you, lady. There's very few people that'll ever be like you.